what followed was what my Arsenal supporting friend Michael Cohen delightfully called platinum bed shitting. I just love that. I'd love to get a
Platinum.
t-shirt.
Well,
That just
said
says
in
that.
his act, it's
Yeah.
platinum bed shitting.
Yeah, it weren't just bed shitting, it were platinum bed shitting. I've shat a lot of beds, take it from me.
Yeah,
that
with
was
many
platinum.
precious metals, but this I would describe as platinum bed shitting. Not gold, it's not silver, it's not even diamond, it's platinum, innit? From the Men in Blazers studios in the crap part of Bedford, the crap part of West Hollywood, California, it's the Men in Blazers video podcast presented by the GFOPs at Camarena, the most awarded tequila.
We're back. Oh, like the Michigan Wolverines, David. Actually, who am I kidding? Actually, we're back more like Wayne Rooney at Birmingham City. Happy New Year, sweet listeners. How are you doing, Davey?
Oh, Happy New Year, sweet Rog. I'm doing okay. I've survived it. Survived a difficult travel day to get back to the crap part of West Hollywood yesterday. But all in all, I've got my Viore on. Rog, new sponsor. Like the Viore, like the clobber.
Tops.
Yeah,
Schmatter.
I survived Christmas and New Year, which for me, that's always just the object.
Tell us where you've been.
I've been in New York City. I've been in Long Island. I've been in Wilmington, North Carolina. Rog, that's a new place for me. Willie, North Carolina. I've been in Charleston. I've been in West Palm Beach, Florida. Met some GFOPs down there. Shout out to you. And now back in West Hollywood, California. A little bit of time in Miami.
God, it's like talking to Lewis and Clark about where they've been.
No, not
Christmas.
compared to you. You're the one that's been international.
I was in Italy. Hello to all the GFOPs I met as I pretty well ate myself across that nation. Spent one of the greatest days of my life eating every single, and I think this is objective and scientific, every single last bit of mortadella in Bologna. I love that city.
I was going to say I love that meat because mortadella is my favourite Italian lunch meat.
I think it's top 10 Italian lunch meat for me, but went to watch Roma Napoli. I'd never been to the Stadio Olimpico before, and let me just say, GFOPs who are in Rome is a wholly different style of passion to the Premier League grounds I'm used to. Anyone who is in Rome, get yourself to a game. It's just, I mean, you've been to Serie A games, David, just the choreographed passion, the delirious noise, the local sense of glory. It is peak.
And that Stadio Olimpico, Rog, of course, just so much history there. The passion. You feel both further away from the action and closer to it. It's a very odd thing that you experience in that ground.
It's nice to see Jose Mourinho slumming it also, which was truly, truly strange. But then I went down to Naples, those Vespa-filled streets.
It's like my favourite.
It's like the Liverpool of Italy, Naples. I feel, other than the fact that I felt like I was actually on the set of my favourite television series, Gomorrah. I did go, and we just talked about this because you've been there too. I went and feasted at the Rory Smith recommended pizza tasting menu at Concertina a Tre Santi. 9 courses. By the way, I hate tasting menus. They're too small.
You're not an omakase man.
Yeah, there's both too much courses and not enough food, which is a toxic combo for me. But like this was, Rory promised me this. He said it is a tasting menu that you can just live and die with. Each course improves the seeming perfection of the one that came before it. Davo, update. Big news. Here's my new death row meal, if it comes to that. I should really say when it comes to that, let's be honest. But Concertina a Tre Santi is my death row meal. What is your death row meal, by the way?
It's so funny when I told my partner Gab, who you know, who's spent a lot of time living in Naples, that you went to Concertina. She went solid because usually she insults the pizza places that Americans go to, but she recommends Concertina heavily. And the first thing she said, "Oh, did they get him with the tasting menu?" Because they love to get you with the tasting menu, but it is superb. The pizza there is amazing. I mean, look, I would say, Rog, that there is BN. And there is PN. There is before Naples and post Naples. You can't compare the food you eat in Napoli to anywhere else in the world. You know, and quite apart from Concertina, there's like 3 other pizza places that will like blow your mind and have you arguing with yourself about which was the best pizza. But I got to tell you, probably it's split for me because I'm going to be simple. I'm be worried about a lot of things on death row. Split between a perfect baguette, which is hard to get from like a small bakery somewhere in the southwest of France. Just a baguette, just the simplicity, the nobility of your daily bread, Roger, of the
That's a
baguette.
hot take, by the way. That's a
Yeah, I
hot
love a
take. Go
baguette.
on.
I mean, like really good bread. There's almost no beating really good bread with some perhaps a bit of decent butter, a bit of decent jam, and or a sausage roll, Rog, from my little local bakery in Southeast London in Blackheath Village. Love a sausage roll.
Shout out to Greg's, where I've
Yeah.
eaten a lot over the past week. God bless her. Whenever we go to Greg's, my mum always goes, and the sausage rolls, they're award winning, as
Oh,
if we're
Val,
eating in
love it.
some gastronomic place of
You
excellence,
are.
which in a way we are. Death Row Meal, I'll just say, I think I would probably have definitely Constantina Chosante, the 9-course tasting menu, which is unbelievable. And then for dessert, and jailers, just before you execute me, please, if you're listening, take note. I'd definitely wash it down with a whole Pequod's pie. I'm not deserting. Chicago's greatest, and then I'd probably, as an after, have a glass of Vinsanto, a Bud Light, and probably a scone off an airline. I do love a scone on an airline when they give you that scone. I'm not a big scone fan, but when
what
you're on
airlines
a plane,
are you flying that are giving you scones?
God, when you fly to Manchester on the Delta Virgin tip, they always just plop a scone down mid-flight. I'm not a scone person.
It's not a biscuit. It's a
scone.
scone.
Yes, it's it.
Okay.
Americans listening, a scone is essentially like an English biscuit, but it comes with this clotted cream and this jam. If you ate it on terra firma, it would be mid. I've got to be candid, but there's something about eating that scone, thousands of feet up in the air, that just makes it. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Can you ask where you can eat when you're being executed? Can you say just before you execute me, I want to eat a scone in the air?
Yeah, you didn't tell me I could have alcohol because I'm definitely downing half a bottle of Camarena as well at the same time. Maybe an entire bottle, to be honest.
God bless. Well, we're in your Viore.
My Viore.
We're hitting all the bases. We got so much bloody football to get to. I will say our mailbag overflower because so many of you GFOPs were wandering around the world, taking in football, watching football, making memories, savouring football. So many of our listeners over in England taking in games. Your photos just make me absolutely delirious. I'm trying to reply to as many of you as possible. meninblazers@gmail.com. Lovely message of the holiday for me came from Nate Cullerton from New York City, who wrote, just back from the most American of holiday adventures, the trip to Disney and Universal in Orlando, Florida, with my family. They wrote, amazed to see 30-foot TV screens blazing soccer highlights featuring Grealish's calves and advertising festive fixtures on NBC. We've made it. Soccer commercials at Disney. We are now a proper footballing nation. Let history show that, Dave.
Oh, very good. I hope those were at Universal, but we'll see.
My goal is to attack 2024 like Ian Ziering attacks an entire mini bike gang in Los Angeles. God bless Steve Sanders. Oh, no one can humiliate Steve Sanders more than he can humiliate himself. We are over the halfway point of the season. The transfer window has creaked open. Davo, let's dive into all of this football, sweet football, that we've missed over the past couple of weeks together.
Absolutely. But before we get to the football, Roger, quick shout out for everything happening at Men in Blazers World Headquarters on this first week of 2024. Tomorrow, Rog, none other than Daryl DK joins Vamos to talk with Hurt Gomez, the Oklahoma native, getting close to full fitness, back for West Brom. Absolutely can't wait to see him back on a football pitch. Also, central defenders don't want him back, but I'd like to see him back. Also, tomorrow on our YouTube page, Men in Blazers Wrexham correspondent Tommy Cheese Lewis is back with a brand new episode of This Week in Wrexham on our YouTube channel. A look ahead at if Wrexham will be able to recreate that promotion magic in the months ahead.
David, this is one of the most, I promise you this, cinematically stunning pieces ever to air on our channels. Tommy hikes up a Welsh mountain and looks forward to all that is to come in 2024. There are rumours at great expense a drone was used in the creation of this episode, and I cannot wait for the world to see it because Men in Blazers needs more drones, baby.
Well, Snowdonia, drones. This is Snowdronia, Roger. I love it. That drops on the Men in Blazers YouTube channel. If you've missed any of Tommy's work, you can go back and binge watch all of them right here. Rog, can you kick us off with the first tourist of 2024?
Oh, I thought you'd never ask. I want to raise my third first Bud Light of the day to Christian Pulisic. Yes, Chris Pulisic, come on, baby! Oh, busier in December than Rudolph, Dasher and Dancer combined. Christian was involved in 5 goals, all competitions, across the month, 3 goals, 2 assists. More than any other Serie A player in that time span. Allora, 22 games, 7 goals, 5 assists now, all competitions this season. Most by an American in Serie A in our nation's history. At Really Dan Wiener tweeted us, just imagine what Mudryk would be doing in Serie A. Not now, really, Dan Wiener, please. Pulisic is playing with confidence and joy again. Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years. To more for AC Milan and Christian Pulisic and beautiful Yunus Musa in the year ahead.
God, he's outstatting Lallis in Serie A, Rog. That won't make the big ginge
By the
very
way, I
happy.
looked that up because I was going to tweet something like that. Really, whoa, take that, Lallis. Lallis actually, I think, scored 3 goals in Serie A, which was not bad going.
He kicked him hard. What is it? That's his thing. Kick it hard.
Yeah, for those of you who are new listeners, producer J-Dubs had, and I actually have it in my office now, a huge poster of Alexi Lallis above his bed. And Alexi Lallis, back in the day, early 90s, signed everything for every kid. Kick hard. That was his advice to every young American footballer. Kick hard. He's like some kind of ginger Sean Dyche, David.
Yeah, I was going to say ginger Ian Ziering, Roger. It could be the same thing.
Oh, God, that's sexy. By the way, Sean Dyche was a ginger Sean Dyche, so I don't know what I'm talking about. An American ginger Sean Dyche.
Oh, Rog.
God bless you. All right, Lallis.
I've watched so much sport over the break. I could talk for an hour about the darts, the NFL football, the college football, the tennis, which is back started again. But let's get to it. The Premier League football, Rog. And this bonkers game from this weekend. Liverpool 4, Newcastle 2. As I said, the most bonkers start to 2024 one could have possibly imagined, as 2 bare-knuckle brawlers enter the ring, hoping to show their mettle. And we're not just talking about Klopp and some Geordie fan here. After having missed a first-half penalty, Mo Salah put the home side ahead in the 49th minute with an exquisite team goal. But Newcastle hit back just 5 minutes later with Prince, Anthony Gordon, slotting in Alexander Isak for a smooth Scando finish. Liverpool then scored twice via Curtis Jones and Cody Gakpo to make it 3-1. A towering Toon header from Sven Botman made for some nervy moments at the death, but a terrible foul by gravity on Diogo Jota allowed Mo to make it 4-2 from the spot. And Liverpool start the year top of the Premier League table. Wow.
Yes. Wow. Yes, I mean, God, going into this one, Arsenal and Manchester City stumbles had left Liverpool top at the halfway turn. They had brilliantly, quite cunningly, let Arsenal take first position at Christmas, which is often a curse, and then reclaimed it in this one against flailing Newcastle in what would be Mo Salah's last chance to run down the wing before heading off to the Africa Cup of Nations and all those penalty laser pointers that will greet him in the Ivory Coast there. One more time, one more dance in the freezing damp night. Liverpool came out, honestly, all guns blazing, using width and verve to smash Newcastle backwards. 18 attempts on goal in the first half, and that includes a Mo Salah missed penalty. Incredibly, his 4th miss in his last 9 attempts. Darwin missed a one-on-one. Trent made like a Scouse Roberto Carlos, lashing a ball from near the byline with arc and venom off the crossbar. What a goal that would have been. But halftime, Liverpool expected goals 2.57 to Newcastle 0.06, but absolutely nothing to show for it, which was anxiety producing for every Liverpool fan I knew. 49th minute though, a moment of breathtaking collective wonder. A Liverpool move back to front. The ball moved in the blink of an eye from their own goal mouth to the other end. Soboslai devilishly destructive. Then the front 3 taking over. Diaz found Nunez, who could have shot, but instead rolled the ball over to give Salah a tap in. Knowing Darwin, Davo, it was probably a shot though, right, wasn't
it? Yeah, it probably was. But it's amazing. I've watched this goal a few times, Rog, and you know that Liverpool going to score these back to front goals like this heavy metal football, this throwing everyone at you. You know that you're often the most vulnerable against Liverpool when you're pressed up, when you're all up there at the other end. And yet, I don't really know how you defend against it. I just don't know what you do. Maybe not attack, maybe never press forward, maybe never try to score a goal, because that seems to really annoy Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp when you try to do something to them. But wow, I just don't know how you defend against it.
150th Premier League goal for Mo. Only Harry Kane, Kun Aguero, Wayne Rooney. Yes, he was once a great footballer, and Thierry Henry have done that before with one team. But let me ask you the question, Davio, that everybody in football is asking. And I talked to John Oliver about this in our end of year holiday extravaganza. Is Mo Salah the baldest haired man in football?
Or is he the head baldest man in football? Because that was the direction I was going with that. Not the baldest head man. I think he's the head baldest man.
The hairiest bald
Because
man.
it's the hair which covers up all the balding for now. For now, there are problems in multiple sectors. There's definitely some recession going on. Haven't had a good look at the back at the at 3.4.
Oh, I popped a photo up of the back.
Oh, you
The
did?
back is charming. He's got. I think it's technically called a Juan Mata
Oh.
going on at the back, which is just gorgeous. That's human. That's who we are. But as we always say on this show, rain is truth, and it was pelting it down here as Liverpool, just like heavy cavalry, refusing to get bogged down in the mud. They kept coming. Dubravka had to repel Nunez twice quite brilliantly. Felt honestly like the wheels were about to come off for Newcastle, but then suddenly, out of nothing, a sucker punch. Anthony Gordon set Isak free. Swede swooped onto the ball, held off Big Virch, opened up his body, and just mercilessly slapped home. Stunning moment of vicious clinicality. Really a toon haymaker. Liverpool, anyone, neutrals, didn't see it coming, David.
Yeah, and definitely sort of adds to the tension. I mean, we shouldn't skip by this. This is a remarkable, based on recent years, it's pretty remarkable what's going on at the top of the league. You've got 6 teams separated by 6 points, I think, or 5 teams separated by 6 points. It's incredibly close. Every point makes so much difference, but these mentality monsters of Liverpool, maybe questioning it after what happened against Man United. But how would they respond in this moment where every single point is so vital?
And it was strange. I mean, each of these teams in the 6, they are phenomenal. They have such strengths. They all have immense vulnerabilities. And the fans are also aware. And in that moment, as Isak reeled away, it was like an agony, a moment of doubt just engulfed Anfield. Was this going to be another game like the Manchester United game you mentioned that they dominated but could not find a way to win? You could hear, I swear, the sound of Manchester City's hooves filling the stadium. And Dubravka continued to play like some kind of Slovakian Tim Howard against Belgium, 10 saves on the day, each one ratcheting up that panic, really a nervousness kicking in. But then Liverpool did it again. A full field move from their own area to their opponents in the blink of an eye. Maybe, honestly, you ask, how do you stop Liverpool? I think ultimately you should not try and score a goal yourself, because Liverpool are never more dangerous when they had the ball in their own goal mouth. Both teams should stop trying to score. Liverpool should stop trying to score because they scored every time they had to defend. And opponents should stop trying to score because Liverpool can only score when they have the ball in their own goal mouth. This move started when Jota released Salah on the right flank. He dropped to shoulder, played a stunning, brilliantly cunning ball to Jota on the edge of the 6-yard box. And Jota did a Bobby Firmino tribute with that. I think it was a Bobby Firmino tribute, a no-look pass to find Curtis Jones, who tappity-tapped home. 5 goal contributions in his last 7 games for the other Scouser on our team. And when Cody Gakpo scuffed the third on 78 minutes, first goal in 11 games, whole thing seemed over. But then you had Botman leaping big air to dunk home a corner, and it all suddenly felt on. Honestly, David, was this game still drunk from New Year's Eve, do you think, technically?
Well, it was in Liverpool, Rog, so there's a very good chance that it was still drunk. And what you just said, it reminded me, I was listening to recently a story about how when they had, the game Go, when AI played the game Go, and AI, instead of using every human game played of Go, it decided, it didn't use any of the human games. It just played it its own way based on the rules of Go. And AI played Go in a way at the World Championships that no one had ever seen anybody play Go before. And it didn't attack. And so the commentators are going, oh, AI is malfunctioning here. It's made a complete mistake. But it just played a different game. And that maybe is, we've got football all wrong. Attacking and trying to score is the wrong way to go about this game.
biggest mistake you can make against this Liverpool side. And by the way, when I'm old enough, when you say AI, I was like, Alan Iverson's taking up Go. I was like so psyched. I was like, that is just beautiful. That is the story the world needed, but we didn't think we'd hear in 2024. Alan Iverson in the World Go Championships. Make it happen, would you? And then the moment, David, talking about games that are drunk. I've been dying to talk to you about this. Jota, clean through, sent, we have to acknowledge, by a stunning ball by McAllister. Just, I mean, geometry defying. And as came to, he tried to round Dubravka, got touched. I think touch is the right word. It wasn't like I'm going to take you out. He got touched as he rounded him. Then took a step, had the open goal at his mercy, and kind of decided, like, computing in his brain, or as every striker, when they're touched, do I go down? Do I finish off? What am I doing here? And you can almost see his brain be like, goals, not as cool as XG. Let me win another penalty for Mo Salah to miss. I have rarely seen a goal-hungry striker fail to at least attempt to catch up with the ball and just go down. I am fascinated, not by why Anthony Taylor gave the penalty and VAR didn't overrule it, because technically it was a penalty, more by why Jota would dive with an open goal at his mercy.
Do you remember when we had the great American actress and GFOP, Laura Linney, on our TV show at NBC? And we showed a bunch of these highlights of simulation, acting, to her, to have her analyze it from an acting point of view, using her acting knowledge to tell us what was going on. And remember, slow motion does make all of these things look a lot worse. When you look at them in real time, it's not quite the same. But she used a great a theatre expression. She just said, when I'm commenting on one of them, I've forgotten who it was, maybe Jack Wilshere, she said maybe he's just ahead of his moment. The people in theatre are ahead of his moment. So maybe Diogo was just a little ahead of his moment there, that he it's almost like behind his moment. He dove a little late. Had he diving a little earlier, it would have been okay.
It was one of those moments, which obviously in the rational world of Twitter, definitely two perspectives. If you're a Liverpool fan, there were a lot of deep physics explanations as to why he would take a couple of steps and then fall over. A lot of Liverpool fans have talked about the aftershock of being touched by Dubravka, who, Dubravka said, I did touch him, so it would have been a penalty. But elite strikers like Alan Shearer, Ian Wright was really vocal. Wright tweeted, would rather go down for a penalty than put the ball in an empty net. Seen it all. Salah did score the penalty. Impressive composure, really. He just went the opposite way to the direction Anthony Gordon was pointing his keeper to dive behind his back. and so Liverpool took all the points. They are top of the table. Delivered an eye-popping expected goals of 7.27 on FootMob, the highest ever recorded in a Premier League fixture. And they started recording expected goals back in 2011 AD. Champions of XG. You'll never sing that. Just delirious, lovely, really slapstick human scenes at the final whistle. Jurgen Klopp managing to drop his wedding ring while walking over to Liverpool fans for the traditional feisty, pumpy. Cue panic. He later said, I needed a professional diver because I once lost the ring in the sea. From time to time, when I lose 1 or 2 kilos, the ring falls off. Who amongst us has not lost I lost a wedding ring in the back of a cab. I really, that moment, Dave, do chase that ring like a giant German golem, precious. Really cute delivery. That was a beautiful human moment.
Yeah, Jurgen Klopp tells us he's on Ozempic without telling us he's on Ozempic, Rog. I love it. See, I got another sponsor in.
New sponsor. I'm on the Ozempic. The Ozempic. Oh my God! Is Klopp's Liverpool 3 points clear at the top, 1 defeat in 31. Incredible, really. Liverpool, they've lost just once this season. That was VAR tinged against Tottenham. They've conceded the least. But they also have challenges. Endo, suddenly so key in the middle of the park, departs for the Asian Cup. Mo Salah now heads to Africa to represent Egypt. The big question, are Liverpool true title challengers? I think the answer is yes. But can they score goals consistently without Mo Salah, Dave, out for possibly the next 7 games?
I mean, this look. I'll give you the plus first before I throw in some of the doubts. In the plus column are they've got a manager who's won the title before. That makes an enormous, enormous difference. Have to go down the entire league table, but I think there's only two of them that have won it before in Pep and Jurgen, and that is going to take. It takes that kind of mentality, that kind of experience to go and do it. They are a flawed team, but they find a way often, not always, but often to play their best football when they like being backed into a corner. They like being, it's similar to what's happened with Everton, Rog. They played their best football right after the deduction. When they're backed into a corner, when everybody's questioning them, when it's difficult, they like it when it's hard. They like it when it's tough. And in the back half of the season, which is this close, 5 teams separated by 6 points. That is not normal in the Premier League. We've died to have Premier League races with this many teams involved. You sort of feel that mentality that they have is going to be so key. You're right. The goal scorers, some of them are going, but now arise, Sir Darwin. Let's see what you're going to do. Let's see what you can do. Maybe the defenders can come in with some goals. Some of the midfielders who've played beautiful football can start, slotting them in from everywhere. They've got a lot of weapons, Rog. A lot of weapons.
Maybe Ozempic is actually just a promising Irish striker coming through the Liverpool
Ozempic.
academy. We'll find out. We will find out. Newcastle, we do have to know, in shock Saudi freefall. Injuries, yes, but this team have lost 5 games in the last 26 days, which is more than they did in the entirety of last season. Massive FA Cup clash of destiny coming up at the weekend, aka the half-hour drive for Newcastle to face dread rivals Sunderland in the FA Cup third round. Hot balls. They've not played the Black Cats since 2016, haven't beaten them since 2011. Then they have games against Manchester City and Villa in the league. Really, the death rattle for Eddie Howe, faint but real and getting realer. Liverpool, by the way, in the FA Cup, nice segue. They travel to Arsenal.
Yeah, beautifully done, Rog. Fulham 2, Arsenal 1, our next game. Mikel Arteta's mob entered this one with a chance to go top of the table on New Year's Eve. And despite going ahead via a Bukayo Saka rebound in just the 5th minute, they squandered it. They were outdone by goals from that CONCACAF duo of reborn Raul Jimenez and Bobby de Cordova-Reid. Marco Silva's cuddly cottagers stop a 3-game losing skid, become the latest to deliver a blow to the broadside of the HMS Gunnosaurus's title hopes. The North London outfit finished the period in 4th place.
Oh, Davo, agony for Arsenal Nation, agony for Mikel Arteta. 4 points out of 12 over the holidays, 2 losses, one to Aston Villa and that one to West Ham. A defeat in which they had barely even troubled the goalkeeper, struggled mightily in both their own box and their opponents. Game which set up the question, how would Arsenal respond to the sting of that humiliating loss? Relief then it felt at Craven Cottage when they opened the scoring on 5 minutes, full length of the field. Martinelli at nosebleed pace, curling inside, Saka stabbing home a rebound. But Fulham are suddenly made out of nowhere of stern stuff. They took the punch on the chin, forced themselves back into the game with an admirable ferocity. Willian Key against his old mob in transition, raiding with Tom Kearney, who arced a delicious ball across the box. Where Raul Jimenez, 4 goals in 4 games now. As many as he's scored across his previous 50 matches in the Premier League. In that barren Israel Jimenez overstretch, made a very difficult angle drive look almost effortless at high speed. Swaggy confidence levels of execution. God bless him, especially because it was at the Emirates against Arsenal, November 2020, that this terrible head injury occurred. Davo, CONCACAF Thunder, that man, he's on fire.
Yeah, no, playing absolutely great football. It's funny because I was thinking earlier, because I hadn't made this connection, the West Ham loss and this Fulham game also. One thing I've said in the past about, talking about Chelsea is it's very hard for these London teams when they play these big games. There are 7 teams from London, none of them named London, in the Premier League. And then you've got Luton as an 8th. You've got Brighton and Bournemouth, which with transport links are quite like every single half of your games are derby games. Every team wants Arsenal to come in and they want to smash them, particularly at home. And you did feel some of that, we're up for it today in a very different way than we're up for most of our games, feeling amongst the Fulham lads.
Yeah, and it was as if the blood suddenly drained from Arsenal. They'd started so emphatically, but were then utterly overrun. One team, Fulham, so coherent. The other, Arsenal, utterly dislocated going forward, really in pieces that were jarringly not connected. This against a Fulham team. Remember, they conceded 8 in their last 3 games. Second half just continued more of the same. Arsenal coughing up the ball, Fulham trying to fizz in transition. A mini flurry of corners led to a moment of utter wonder. 59th minute, Willian again. His delivery led to carnage, corner slop. De Cordova Reed was getting bullied by Gabriel while waiting for the original delivery, was the one to lash home. There you go, CONCACAF 2, Arsenal Football Club 1. It's astonishing.
Yeah, that was a very CONCACAF goal, Rog. Carnage was the right word. It was beyond corner slop. It was that was a rainy day in Tobago material. It was really extraordinary.
And you felt this was a moment of really a fight or flight for Arsenal. Within a minute, the ball fell to Saka 6 yard out on an angle, a volley which he had so much time and space for. He just decided, you know what, I'll slash this one into Rosie. And watching Arsenal this season does feel like there's just no plan B at all. When plan A falters, and plan A, by the way, plan A is beautiful. It involves the manipulation of the ball, the team play, but it's now so predictable that well-drilled teams like Fulham can counter it. They know Arsenal will effectively then defeat themselves because they are beautiful, but they are predictable. This Arsenal, David, they're almost living proof that the desperate desire to control a football game is very different to the ability to win.
Yeah, look, you've got to say, and just statistically and also just looking with our own eyes, they are not as good as they were last season. Now, that may be that other teams are better. They finished last season on 84 points. They are at, less than halfway there, more than half of the game's gone. So they're just not quite as good as they were last season. And they are going to, if they're going to make it back and really challenge for the title in the second half of the season, they are going to have to be a better team than they were last year. That's what it's going to take. We know that they just came up a little bit short last season. They're going to have to find a way to be better. And it's tough to see how they're going to do that without some kind of a plan B, or maybe a plan C, or maybe even a plan D.
What followed was what my Arsenal supporting friend Michael Cohen delightfully called platinum bed shitting. I just love that. I'd love to get a
platinum.
t-shirt.
Well, said in his act, it's platinum bed shitting.
Yeah, it weren't just bed shitting, it were platinum bed shitting. I've shat a lot of beds, take it from me.
Yeah,
that
with many
platinum.
precious metals, but this I would describe as platinum bed shitting. Not gold, it's not silver, it's not even diamond, it's platinum, isn't it?
In The Guardian, slightly more articulately, Barney Renee diagnosed it thusly. He said, "This is hardly a mystery story or a devilish tactical insight. Arsenal lack a goal bludgeon. They lack a shark. They lack an angry, selfish, horrible player who only pretends to feel ecstatic after wins in which he hasn't personally scored." And the sky darkened. Tragic weather that beset England all weekend kicked in. Arsenal toiled in literal and metaphorical storms. All felt so bloody biblical, needing a goal, needing life. They could honestly barely cock a fist to hurt Fulham. Lots of passes around the final third, but nothing dangerous. Fulham snapped a run of 3 straight defeats with this massive performance. It's got to be said, they were fantastic. Anthony Robinson just seemed in this game to get stronger and stronger. You could see in the second half just how much he was enjoying plucking the ball away from Saka as the game went on. This was Fulham's first win against Arsenal in 11 long years. For the Gunners, as you say, 2 London derby losses in the space of 3 days, aka sky really falling. They needed a goal, they needed life, they could summon nothing. They're suddenly vulnerable at the back, they're impotent up front. Mikel Arteta called it a painful day. The worst game of the season. Here's what's interesting to me, Dave. After what happened to last year, where everybody believed and then fell short, the cracks starting to show again, the stress, the fissures. Do you think with the simmering challenges now coming to a boil, might there be damage to like that collective sense of mission, tears in that team culture?
Yeah, there must be. There must be. Or if not finger pointing, there must be internal doubt. But that's where I'd say their league position actually helps them. It's like in a sort of a great 800-meter race or a 1500-meter race. It's much easier to run from second or third or fourth around that final bend or around that, next to last corner than it is to run from the front. I think this would be tough if they were out front and suddenly starting to like wobble again. I think they're in a better position. They have so many weapons. They play such beautiful football. I don't want to, I don't want to neg them too hard because I still think they're a really, really good team. And I think they're going to be around there towards the end of the season. But they are going to have to find something else if they're going to make it there. And one of those things is the right mentality.
I feel for Arsenal. I feel for Arsenal fans. Really ending the year in a state of woe. Top at Christmas. That's cruel. Back-to-back London derby defeats. They plummet from first to fourth, 5 points off the top, 11 points dropped in the course of 5 games. That January transfer window cannot open quick enough. Mikel Arteta, God, he must have had a glum New Year's Eve just thinking about how his team had become so toothless and what he can do to fix it, to prove that it's a mere blip and not something that's absolutely, truly profound. Bright side Arsenal fans, as my friend John Green tweeted, you'll always have that top at Christmas trophy.
Yeah, not a happy new year for Mrs. Arteta and the rest of the Arteta family. Okay, Manchester City 2, Sheffield United 0, champions of the world. Manchester City stroll into the new year by delivering their first clean sheet in 8 Premier League games in what was effectively a possession exercise dressed up like a football match. Goals from Rodri, what's that, Plan D, and Argentine Scottie Pippen, Julian Alvarez, at least Plan B with a difference here. City now just 5 points off the league leaders with an impending return from KDB, who was an unused sub in this one.
Yeah, no one had a better holiday period than Manchester City, a team who had spluttered from their search of perfection that had propelled the three-peat. Nonetheless, they headed to Saudi Arabia and added the World Club Championship to their Champions League and League titles. No final way to wrap up a truly dominant 2023 in which they had the most wins, the most points won, the most goals scored, least goals conceded, most tattoos per acre of neck skin per player. They smashed Fluminense 4-0 in the final. And I asked this of John Oliver, Davo. I'm going to ask you, can you separate the art from the artist? Or does the looming 115 charges that are being prolonged and will probably not be answered until the end of the 2024-25 season, but will still be faced? Do they just leave you cold? What is, on paper and on the field, just an immense unheralded achievement?
I think whatever John Oliver thinks, whatever you think, it's going to be ultimately the totality of football media and football fandom that decide how big these asterisks are going to be on anything that's already happened there, or by the way, at other clubs, including Chelsea, including Everton's own Florida Cup, Rog, which I think at this point has to be in some doubt as to its legitimacy. So.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
I won't allow Florida Cup denial. The Florida Cup, in its intrinsic DNA, is denial in its own right.
But do Man City get the Florida Cup when they? Is it like boxing, where once you win the World Club Championship, you get every single belt, including the Florida Cup and the Carabao and the Lardavans Trophy or whatever else people play for in football?
The Florida Cup comes with an asterisk attached. In terms of, you can't asterisk an asterisk, just like you can't kid a kidder, David.
Yeah, I mean, look, I do think that it's tough, and this will be debated, by Premier League fans forever once we get finally the results of the Premier League investigations into Manchester City and into Chelsea. And I'm sure it'll be there. I think for now, it's tough because it takes away the enjoyment of football and rooting and this amazing Premier League race we've got for the rest of the season if we obsess about it too much.
We naysayers, and I do mean naysayers, ESPN, had hoped the air miles logged in flying there and back to Saudi Arabia, that traditional home of global football, might give Manchester City jet lag, but their casual destruction of Everton last Wednesday night in another biblical flood, followed by a professional victory against Sheffield United. The game itself, bit of a snooze, 81% City possession, 0 suspense. I think the most noise greeted KDB warming up for the first time since opening day when he got hamstring knack. Back with his new floppy for wedding and a funeral era Hugh Grant haircut. Dave, what do you think of it?
I think solid. If you've got it, flaunt it, Rog. Who are we to complain?
Definitely. When I was a kid, I used to take a picture of the Bionic Man to the barbers when I was like 5, and I'd give it to the barber, and I'd say, "I'd like my hair like that, please." And my mum would like mouth behind, just short back and sides. And at the end of the haircut, I'd say, "I don't look anything like the Bionic Man," and my mum would just drag me out and be like, "It's because your face is different, dear." But I do believe KDB's been taking a photo of Jack Grealish into his barbers and working on. Well, it's the only thing that's been missing from his game, really, a signature haircut. He didn't come on. City didn't need him. A shattered Blades manager, Chris Wilder, said after the game, it felt like we just played football for about 5 hours. City, an incredible 938 passes. Davo, this is a team unbeaten now in 30 home games in 2023. This has been their year. Let's just say that. They went to Saudi Arabia knowing they could have been 12 points behind the league leaders when they returned. Instead, ominous, without playing anywhere near their elite best yet. They were a mere 5 points back with a game in hand. They have no players going to AFCON, no players going to the Asian Cup, the kindest of fixture lists. They've got Newcastle, Burnley, Brentford, Everton, Chelsea, Bournemouth next, all the way into March. Can anyone stop them from ripping off the 8, 9, 10 game winning streak, Davo, which they're honestly conditioned to do? But they're a back half of the season. Let's peak at that time kind of team, Davo. Are they going to be home and dry by March? That's what I'm asking.
Look, I think we've both said from the beginning of the season that we believe that Manchester City are the best team in the Premier League and probably the best team in football. No one can stay with them when they're playing their best. No one can stay with them really when they're playing just above average football. And yet, there is this sense of vulnerability, partly because so many years into this pet project, when they've won so much, it's just a little bit boring. It's almost performative, their football at certain points. It's not about putting the ball in the back of the net. And I think from some of that, distraction that comes from being so good, something that I've never felt, something that so few athletes, so few humans have ever felt, the distraction of being so bloody good that it's tough to get it up the entire time. I just sort of feel that they may be more vulnerable this year than they have been in any of the last few seasons.
I will say last week, Pep Guardiola said menacingly, "We have the hunger to win the title inside our bones." God, that's just a crazy concept the more you think about it. Frightening quote. Incredible stat. After Pep won his 5th title of 2023, the World Club Championship, David, Pep Guardiola averages a trophy for every 23 games in his managerial career. 37 trophies in 849 games. Let me read that again. 37 tchotchkes in 849 games. Everton have not won a single one since 1995. 10,454 days, but who's counting?
Yeah. Boys, drop your shorts. I need to look inside your bones. I love it. It's an amazing thing. Poor Everton, Rog. But you managed to get Everton in the same paragraph as we were discussing Manchester City. That's something of an achievement. Tottenham 3, Bournemouth 1. Spurs bounce back from that deflating 4-2 midweek loss to Brighton, thanks to goals from Pap, Sarr, Sonny, and Richie. Alex Scott did pull one back late on, and like any good Aussie New Year's celebration, there was some technical area argy-bargy late on between the staffs that saw Big Ange himself earn a slice of cheese, but in the end, Spurs finished the festive fixtures in 5th, having won 4 of their last 5 and in 5th place.
That was my worst. Just when I think I've delivered my worst accent of all time, that Australian accent was
that terrible. Was Australian. I thought it was slice of cheese, mate. Slice of cheese.
They call a yellow card a slice of cheese. The ref's bringing out a slice of cheese. This was a really impressive performance by Tottenham against Solanke-propelled Bournemouth, who suddenly had been on a run of 7 straight games undefeated, but no more after this one, which saw the much-needed and magical return of Rodrigo Bentancur 6 weeks ahead of schedule after tearing ankle ligament at the beginning of December. That was offset on just half an hour when Pap Sarr went down with a hamstring injury, and you start to realise Ange Ball, God, it asks so much of the players on this squad physically, and I do fear for Spurs and the price they'll pay in the second half of the season. But God bless Richarlison, summoning real form now. 5 goals in 5 games for him, including one against Everton, which was an agony to witness. you Brazilian Benedict Arnold. He'll no doubt add a tattoo of him not celebrating that goal onto his own back. Sonny capped off the scoring. Spurs now face a reality in which they lose their captain to Asian Cup, and Bissouma, that engine in the Africa Cup of Nations. Van de Ven, Maddison cannot come back quickly enough. There was that wonderful moment that you mentioned, Davo. Ange Postecoglou playing really against his cuddly, warm, loving type, squared up and played a bit of slappy with his Bournemouth opposition number, Iraola. Post-game, he was asked what led to the argy-bargy, and he just said, "Oh, nothing, mate. We were just wishing each other Happy New Year."
Brilliant. That's a perfect Australian answer, Rog. Yeah, Tottenham. I fear for them also, but rooting for them. Aston Villa 3, Burnley 2, basement-dwelling Burnley entered Unai Emery's Count Chocula Castle, aka Villa Park, for a Claret and Blue derby. Villa twice took the lead in this one, only for Burnley to draw level, including a second-half equaliser that came after Sander Berger's second yellow left Vinny Kompany's side down a man. But hope, as so often the case in life, Rog, was only an illusion as an 89th minute. Douglas Ruiz Peno lifted the Villa to victory. Villa now sits second, only 3 points off leading Liverpool, while Burnley remain stuck in the relegation mud. But they do have Bank of Dave on Netflix, Rog. Not a sponsor, but a fine motion picture.
God bless. What a time it is to be a Villa fan. Beginning the weekend with 39 points. As many as Leicester City had in their title-winning season. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. A record for Villa at this stage. Yes, they just let their 15-win home streak snap against a pugnacious Sheffield United, and they've not entirely convinced this holiday period. They've looked tired, they've looked brittle defensively, and would have a propensity to squander possession in dangerous places and fritter away chances at the other end. This weekend, they made a win against 10-man Burnley, really a battle. I mean, it was hard work. Burnley low on skill, still so high on fight. They actually ground back to make it 2-2. The Clarets, lovely moment for Lyle Foster. His first goal since taking a leave of absence to address mental health challenges. I loved what Vincent Kompany said after the game. He said, with Lyle Foster, we were dealing with a human tragedy, really. A young lad who'd lost it completely. To see him get back up, just enjoying the game, being out there on the pitch with his teammates, smiling after the game. I can go away from being a manager. As a human being, I'm happy to just be part of this moment. It's beautiful to watch, but a late penalty given away by a former Villa player, Aaron Ramsey, came back to haunt them, handed Villa late victory. Villa actually temporarily top of the table in that moment, now second. They definitely need a lot of cover for that squad. It's going to be interesting to see. I think they're going to have to do mostly loans, according to FFP, in the transfer window. But whatever happens in their top four challenge, and I know titles are not won in calendar years, but across 2023, only Manchester City have won more points than Aston Villa. What an incredible year, again, to be a Villa fan, David. It's beautiful to witness.
Amazing for the fans. What a job Unai Emery has done, really coming back into the Premier League after, being, sent away with his tail between his legs last time. And, just the quality of that man and his own mental fortitude to come back and do such a good job at Villa. I really, really admire it. Okay, Nottingham Forest 2, Manchester United 1 after a fairly dire first half. The game sparked to life in the second 45 when Forest cut United apart with passing down their right-hand side and Argentine Nico Dominguez sweeping the ball into the net. United did hit back after the biggest North Jersey misstep since Artie Bucco beat Benny unconscious on his own porch. Poor Matty Turner playing the ball right to Garnacho, who slipped it to Rashbeans for his first goal in 6 hours of football, but an 82nd minute Morgan Gibbs-White winner, about which ballads will be written, set the City ground alight and created one of the atmospheres of the season. Their second straight victory as they ride that Nuno manager bounce and their first over United since 1994. They're now 5 clear of the drop. Meanwhile, United down to 8th and so much intrigue happening off the field there.
Let's open with a brief note of positivity for United fans. Your team, as we pod, remain unbeaten in 2024. That's the good news.
Yeah.
But let's dive into the rest. Starting, as you note, Davo, with off the field. After 13 truly chaotic months of rumour-fueled negotiation, about selling Manchester United. The Glazer family of Tampa Bay ultimately merely diluted their ownership. A lot still unknown about this. Their ownership stake, I think, is now 49%. They brought on Sir Jim Ratcliffe, the locally born billionaire, gent who founded and runs Ineos Petrochemicals and Fracking Company. Young listeners listening, yeah, get into it. Fracking, it's the future. He finally completed a deal to buy a minority stake in the club. He spent $1.26 billion to acquire an initial 25%. Also, in an unusual relationship that we don't fully understand yet, and there's more to come, he will be in control of football operations. So much more to be learned about how that will work and the withers of how it will work. He's going to provide a further $300 million for, quote, investment in infrastructure at Old Trafford. Essentially, he's going to fix the holes in the roof. United fans now crazily analysing the ups and down fortunes of the other clubs. That Ratcliffe owns FC Lausanne in Switzerland and Nice in France. And also the track record of his advisors, especially Sir Dave Brailsford, who's known as a marginal gain searching efficiency expert and downsizer from the cycling world. So much for them to do, Davo. I mean, what do you make of it all? This moment, is this gent a white knight? Is the change about to come, or is it just more turmoil?
I mean, look, being a publicly traded company, you assume that we are going to get the ins and outs of this deal and exactly how it's going to work. But some of the wording was remarkable. I mean, many of my friends in finance were sending it to me saying, what does this mean? What does that wording mean? How does that going to work? And I was like, it's football. Like, it can work in lots of extraordinary ways. Ratcliffe, of course, he's owned other football clubs. He's tried to buy a lot of others, including Chelsea. He's got what he finally wants, a seat at the table. He'll have a much higher public profile, you assume, and that's got to be why he's doing it. There are better things to invest in than football clubs, Rog. So, it's going to be fascinating. But yeah, the Glazer family of Tampa Bay are not going anywhere. They are very much still there at the center of this club, and it's not the transaction that I think many hope for, with the campaigns that started many years ago.
Yeah, I was hoping they would step off because I'm frankly tired of people sending me photos of the Glazer with the ponytail, the bald man with the ponytail. Yeah. Just a terrible look.
You have never had a ponytail. You've never had a ponytail
yet. ... And to be clear, they did bloody spend money. This is what's fascinating. They did spend money. I think they spent $1.9 billion on players since Sir Alex Ferguson's retirement. The reality is they did it without any kind of strategy, any kind of vision, other than commercial pursuits, hence Pogba, Ronaldo too, Alexis Sanchez. This club cries out for a director of football, cries out for a recruitment plan, a strong CEO, a squad makeover, a stadium rebuild. There's rumours of as much as 300 jobs being let go with across the organisation to minimise costs everywhere, so that every pound or every dollar can go towards new transfers and maintain the balance of financial fair play. It is going to be this Jim Ratcliffe era. It's going to be. I mean, this is a road that could be glorious. It could be more mayhem, more churn, more stasis. We will see. But on the field, United become it's hard to watch unless you are deep into the Schadenfreude at this point. They are so soft, so vulnerable. It's like watching Millhouse try and play football, losing to West Ham insipidly, a loss marked by ringing up 4 games without even scoring a goal. The butt of all jokes became poor Rasmus Højlund, United's 20-year-old, $92 million, great white hope of a striker. He'd rung up 0 goals, 0 assists in 14 Premier League games, enter Aston Villa, stormed into the lead with relish, took a 2-0 lead, I think with inside 26, 27 minutes. GFOP, Chris Armstrong insted us to say, I left in disgust. I went for a run at 2-0 down, but then, cue superb, heroic comeback. Garnacho shook off a couple of misses to deliver a pair of fine finishes, gave United what Peter Drury called delightfully an interest, And what a time for Rasmus Højlund to break a 14-match Premier League duck on 82 minutes. Just smashed home a sweet left foot volley, then reeled away with unabashed delight. Just watch this moment if you did not see it, to see a young man just so much stress, so much pressure, so much weight, so much anger directed at him, rolling off his back in that second. Yes, he'd scored 5 goals in the Champions League, all in United defeats for the record, but finally a Premier League goal. It was more than a goal, a reprieve, epic reprieve for him, for his manager, the club, symbolic moment of redemption, a flicker of joy. There were smiles, Davo. There were smiles again at Old Trafford. This was in front of, I think, Dave Brailsford, the efficiency, the essentially the slayer, the executioner, was watching. It felt in that moment, Davo, like the players were saying, we are still behind our manager. We still have fight. Nothing to see here. Everyone go home. For a moment, a fleeting moment, didn't it feel like crisis averted?
Well, I mean, I think we've said this so many times about Man United. Could this be the turning point? This feels like a turning point. This is the turning point of their season. I think Drury said it at the end of the game, and yet it clearly isn't. And for everything you say about their insipid football, everything you say about their softness, the thing that really strikes you about Man United when you look at the team sheet or you think of individual moments of highlights of their players is how much talent they still have on that team, in that squad. There are so many superb players waiting to express themselves in a good way, and that's not for me just a knock on Ten Hag, because this has been the truth at Man United ever since Sir Alex left, is that they've had successive managers come in with enormous amounts of talent on that field, but unable to go and do anything about it. I worry about this, all the firings of all the people, even though there is something obviously a little bit rotten about the culture at Man United. It just is tough. When you get rid of 300 people, that really affects. You think, oh, that won't affect the football. The people that, get them ready or dollop out their mashed potatoes at lunch or, clean their boots. These are important people in the lifeblood of a club.
My God, the way you described the number of corners that United have turned, we used to joke about Arsenal and Arsene Wenger, that they keep turning corners, and at the end of the day, they're just circling around the block. It's like
MC
a
Escher.
Perpetuon and MC Escher kind of staircase. And the answer, was this a turning point, came just 3 days later against Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest now have Nuno, after Steve Cooper had stopped bringing sexy back and was finally let go after 1 win in 13 games. For United, we realised this was merely a band-aid, the dramatic Villa win on a cut which needed triage, which needed surgery. Forest took the lead in the second half, as you mentioned. Dominguez thrashing home the opener. Poor Matt Turner, we've got to acknowledge he had a number of deeply indecisive passes out the back, one which led directly to Rashford equalising. Turner passed the ball straight up the gut to Garnacho, who fed Rashford to roll home. I think that was his first touch in the Nottingham Forest penalty area all game. But Matt Turner giveth, Matt Turner taketh away, tenaciously redeeming himself. 82nd minute, diving late to save the game with a fine low parry from Eriksson. Shot stopping, elite. That save led to an instant counter. 18 seconds later, a moment of wonder, assisted by United reject Anthony Elanga, who said later this one was personal for him as he sobbed in his manager's arms. Here he dipped a shoulder, cut inside, rolled the ball over to Morgan Gibbs-White on the edge of the area, and he simply, archly tucked the ball home. United, I don't know how to describe them. I learned this German word over the break, a phrase for those who struggle like me to wake up in the mornings. If you're listening and you also wander the earth like a zombie before your first cup of coffee, there's a German word, Morgenmuffel, which I just adore. Morgenmuffel. United are just proper Morgenmuffel.
Yeah, meanwhile, Forest were Morgan Gibbs-White. It's the opposite of Morgan Muffle.
Oh, God bless. And by the way, those of you who are Morgan Muffle, double M, there's nothing wrong with that. Can we just say, God bless Matt Turner, who emitted an exclamation point of wonder after that goal. And he was even more involved at the death, 95th minute, off the corner, parrying a deflected drive by Bruno, brilliantly, athletically, ecstatically again. Beautiful redemption. His face at the final whistle. The cameras wouldn't leave Matt Turner. Just his joy that he was emitting at the final whistle. As the club's official account tweeted, Forest all over the world, to which at Ronan Murphy added, Greta Thunberg if she had her way. What delirious scenes. Well played, Papa Smurf Nuno. mocked by so many upon his return to the Premier League, but delivering back-to-back wins. 2 wins out of 3, and I don't know how you say new manager bounce in Portuguese, but bloody hell, it was magnificent. First win for Forest against United at home since the golden days of yore, under the club legend Brian Clough. But United, Davo, blip, the heroic win at Aston Villa, false dawn, false photo, terrible mid, 9 losses now this season, incredible number. They cannot prevent opponents in transition. They are not conjuring shots on goal. They can't score. Luton Town in the relegation zone have more goals and have played a game less than Manchester United. Rashford, a lost boy. Just the records they're breaking. 14 losses, all comps before the end of December for the first time since 1930-31. All this corporate downsizing poised to go on. Ten Hag, Davo, still briefs the press. He's the right man for the job. It's kind of crazy because he's also in that territory where he's trying to say things like United are in a good place. That's patently not true at all. Is he the right man? Do you give him a chance? Is it just that they can't think? They've tried everything other than him. Is that what's keeping him in a job at the moment?
Well, it's almost that's the wrong side of the equation. It's just the wrong place. It's that he might be the right man. It's the place that is wrong. And as we've seen with every single manager they've tried to bring in, I don't know how one single manager comes in and fixes what is going on there. It's going to have to be cultural, and it's going to have to be steady, and it's going to have to be gradual. It's the only way I can imagine it changing.
God, if you're listening, Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Sir David Brailsford, that's a lot of sirs. I know you listen to the pod. If you want to fix this quickly, get Wayne Rooney. Write that down. Wayne Rooney in as your next manager and get Chris Armas in as his assistant.
Yeah, that should work. Okay, Luton 2, Chelsea 3. It was a scrap to the bell in the backyard octagon that is Kenilworth Road. Chelsea landed the first punches with Mark Davis, haircut connoisseur Cole Palmer providing 2 goals and an assist to give the Blues a 3-0 lead. But a revenge goal from the most orange person in show business, Ross Barkley, and an Elijah Adebayo putback had the Hatters on the precipice of a Rocky 2-style comeback, but Poch's squad managed to absorb Luton's flurry of last-minute punches to walk away with cauliflower ear, acute memory loss, but 3 points. Leave it to Chelsea to make a win feel like watching $1 Million Baby, Roger.
Yeah, Chelsea flinging out starting lineups with it. I think they average like 23 years, 27 days, youngest in the Premier League since 2017.
Babies.
Essentially bar mitzvah age. But with that youth, so much raw inexperience, so much inconsistency, seemed to take a game on, a game off, and at Luton, the battle that summed up so much about this Chelsea. So much talent, so much rawness, seemingly cruising after 2 peaches from young Cole Palmer and a thumping exclamation point finish from Madueke. Can we talk about Cole Palmer? What a lethal visionary that gent is. Involved now in 12 Premier League goals this season, 8 goals scored, 4 assists. Only player currently aged 21 or under to be involved in more in Europe's top 5 leagues is one Mr. Jude Bellingham. Every time I watch Cole, I both marvel at him and then remember GFOP at Sack's comment that Cole Palmer has Mark Davis's barber. And apart from being the Premier League player most likely to play a medieval surf as an extra in a movie, what do you see in him in the pantheon of great Chelsea players? Where do you see him ultimately rising to?
I mean, look, he's that Moneyball guy, right? The guy who doesn't have those, doesn't have Jack Grealish's looks. He doesn't have, the adoring fans on TikTok that Jude Bellingham has watching every single move. But my God, he's got a quiver load of skills, Rog. He's got so many things he can do with the ball, without the ball. He's just a total footballer. He's sort of the England player we don't ever really talk about. I had no idea how good he was when he came into Chelsea. And apologies, I obviously saw him come off the bench for Man City, saw him play a few games for England in the under-21s. I had no idea how good he was. And he's blown me away. There have been a lot of, high-power Chelsea signings, not all of them horrible, Roger. Lots of young players with a great deal of potential. And yet he sticks out as a true pro, like a professional, somebody who comes in and gives it pretty much every game. That goal he scored, the breakaway goal, and the step over, but with the bounce on the ball to like make it bounce on that bumpy Kenilworth Road turf, and then the sort of like stutter step and finishing it with his right foot to fake out the player as he came in for the diving tackle. I mean, he has a maturity about him that I think is quite striking. He could be a Chelsea great. Yes, he could be, Lamps level in terms of his upside. I don't think anybody's ever going to make that many appearances for the club. Nobody's ever going to score that many goals for the club again. But he is a total player in that sort of attacking midfield role.
He's got Caitlin Clark. Only Caitlin Clark could score that goal that he did on 70 minutes when he just dance revolutioned his way through. It is unbelievable. I'm trying to start a rumor that he is actually Phil Foden's son. That's how good I think he is. And when he did score that
He's too
goal,
young. I think Phil Foden's got kids older than Cole Palmer.
Yeah, no, Pep's his granddad. Pep Guardiola is, start these rumours, America. When he scored that 3-0, 70th minute, it felt like 3 points, let's go home. I may or may not have texted someone I know at the club and been like, you guys are back. And that text was all it took for Luton to score twice. Suddenly look utterly able to overwhelm Chelsea, terrify that back line. This was Luton. God bless Luton, who may not survive this season, but our dictionary definition filled with fight, always just flinging a fist in the face of whoever they play. They beat Newcastle, they've drawn with Liverpool, they scared Arsenal, Manchester City, Chelsea, clearly not looked at any of that game, Phil. Slacked off, stopped closing down space on the flanks. Can we just celebrate Ross Barkley, who has seized this moment of redemption to spin and snarl and create beauty amidst the humble realities of Luton? And magnificent he was on this day. Adebayo found the back of the net too. Chelsea were left hanging on. The victory was gleaned, but the game ended with a slightly bizarre scene of Thiago Silva victorious, but that 78-year-old veteran knew just how close his team had come to fritting her in it all the way. Platinum bed shitting. Shaking his head in shock, visible disgust after the final whistle. He later apologised, but it was odd, Davo, in victory. Really just a reminder of how close you came, the slim margin between taking a bullet and a bullet dodged. A bullet, honestly, you almost aimed in your own direction.
Yeah, and look, he was yelling at Enzo Fernandez, and anybody who watched that game knows why he was yelling at Enzo Fernandez. This is a player, of course, of remarkable ability, but who sometimes, especially when he's brought in to play a more defensive role, he just doesn't do it. He finds himself way up ahead of the ball in a game where you just don't want to be doing that. Not at 3-0.
You didn't pay enough for me. You didn't pay enough for me to do the defending as well. You only paid like 100 plus. But where are we? Because Poch said his team are, quote, so far away from reaching their targets. Where are you? Sometimes we see glimmers of progress, stoppage time goals, penalty heroics, wild celebrations of the Carabao Cup win against Newcastle. The next, you see insane frailties. Are your Chelsea just proof that there's a randomness to everything? Are they just a reflection of the randomness of the universe?
Well, yeah, maybe, or the simulation of the universe, Rog. But they're a bunch of kids. And often we're breaking records for like youngest starting lineups in Premier League history for Chelsea, with Thiago Silva playing at the back of central midfield, which raises the average age by
Brazilian
like 2
Tim
everywhere. So they're just a very, very young team, and they've brought in a lot of young players at exactly the same time. So, if you watch any sport, you and I have said this for years, we can marvel at the quality of the 16 and 17-year-olds growing up at clubs and think how great they are. We see high school basketball players who are so phenomenal, and we think there's no straight line to success. What becomes why I'm impressed by Cole Palmer is he feels like a seasoned pro, even at that young age. Young, great players with incredible ability don't necessarily become super professionals in what is a professional game. And that means how you train, how you eat, how you prepare, your mentality when you play, your ability to execute, your ability to understand your own limitations, your ability to get through the tough moments. It's not all, sugar and spice. It's tough out there. And so, yes, this is a bunch of kids. This is the fault of Chelsea fielding a team which is all of children, and of bringing in all these very highly, highly paid, expensive children at the same time. But I don't think we know how good they're going to be for another couple of years. But I just don't know.
Not everyone can be Phil Foden's son. Just remember that. One last lovely note. Luton captain Tom Lockyer has been tweeting out as he continues what we hope is his recovery, having collapsed on the field at Bournemouth December 16th. 29-year-old was discharged from hospital with an implantable cardioverter defibrillator and ICD device fitted to his heart to stop irregular heartbeats. He posted on social media yesterday that he's meeting with specialists this month to assess his future. His club have been propelled with a desire to win for him. It's been magnificent to witness stunning scenes after Andros Townsend scored the only goal in victory against Newcastle. That whole team celebrated by parading a Lockyer shirt around the field. We wish Locks and his family health, strength in this complicated, challenging time to better days ahead for all.
Absolutely, Rog. And by the way, I agree with your mate Danny Higginbottom that Rob Edwards right now, first half of the season, manager of the season. It's just amazing the jobs he's doing at Luton.
Manager of the season, not named Sean Dyche.
Okay, Rog. West Ham 0, Brighton 0. David Moyes' New Year's resolution to double the amount of to double the amount of P he puts in the punch is off to a strong start. A pretty dire goalless draw at the London Stadium, in which Brighton had the better of the possession, but was unable to break through the resolute Irons defence, which has now kept 4 clean sheets on the bounce. The Seagulls are in 7th place, West Ham 6th. 0-0 draw to ring in the new year. You just know James Milner celebrated with a tall glass of cold milk, Rog.
By the way, give David Moyes a new deal now. Gent beat Manchester United, then swooped into the Emirates, delivered Moyes' first ever win at Arsenal in 23 attempts. That Gent is like some kind of Glaswegian Sisyphus, finally beaten a Big Four team on the road. I think it was his 73rd attempt at that. His team's so compact, so organised. They blocked everything in that game. Edson Alvarez, a beast, incredibly just symbolically ripping Declan Rice out of West Ham was meant to destroy the heart of this team. But the emergence of the likes of Kudus, who's heading off to African Nations Cup play, it's been sizzling to witness. A new 2-year deal is now being reported for Moyes, a manager who oddly has taken the Irons to European glory, all while perpetually being on the brink of being fired. This was a forgettable 0-0 draw yesterday with possession-hungry yet frustrated Brighton. It was actually Brighton's first clean sheet of the season. So it's not nothing. Brighton leapfrog Manchester United, as you say, going to 7th. Hammers, Shauna Paqueta and now Kudus off to AFCON, remain in an impressive 6th place. But perhaps their favourite moment of the holiday, even more than clipping Arsenal, was singing the following chants at the Emirates. Champions of Europe, you'll never sing that. You're just a shit Crystal Palace. And probably sweetest of all, Declan, what's the score?
Yeah, I thought so tellingly, Rog. David Moyes was frustrated at the final whistle of what previously a 0-0 draw, frustrating Brighton. That would have been a result for him. He was frustrated. He wants to take West Ham even further. I love it. Okay, Crystal Palace 3, Brentford 1. It was a matchup of crosstown futility as Brentford limped into Selhurst Park, losers of 6 of their last 7. Palace winners of 1 in their last 12. Human law firm Keane Lewis Potter tucked one away in only the 2nd minute to give Brentford a 1-0 lead. Q South London, Shaq and Kobe, Michael Olise and Ebarichi Eze. The duo went back-to-back, scoring 14th and 39th minute goals to put the Eagles up at the half. Olise sealed the victory for Palace in the second half with an Arjen Robben-esque left footer. Palace are now 14th, while Brentford, not unlike the global B population, Rog, are in freefall, sitting just 4 points clear of the drop.
Yeah, stumbling and characteristically 5 straight defeats, just 19 points for 19 games. They got Yohan Wissa heading to the Africa Cup of Nations in January with Congo. They got Mbumo out for another 10 weeks. Really, the centrality of Ivan Toney's return from his 8-month ban is everything. That's if he's not sold in this window. Palace, though, massive win for Roy Hodgson, now reaching the final kind of chapter of Old Yeller stage of his career with Stevie Cooper and his sexy veneers now available for free, making a slightly toothy shadow upon Roy's future. It was without a win in 8, and he only went and conjured a comeback victory, answering a fine-flowing team goal in the 2nd minute via 3 fine finishes, 2 from the truly unplayable Olise, first brace of his career. He was on just total can't touch this mode. Roy, wondrously defiant post-game. Dude still thinks he's fighting the Hun during the Blitz. When asked if he's worried about being fired, he said, I'm 76 years of age. I've been working 47 years. I've got a CBE for my services, and I've got a CV, which is incredible. So my final answer to you is it makes no difference. Davo, God, we should all attack everything with the confidence of Roy Hodgson, right?
Yeah, well, the confidence that's born from incredible experience and a life so well lived, and a managerial career of just which has never been a straight line. Rog, it's never been a straight line. He's had amazing successes, had amazing failures, but he's taken everything from all of it, and this was wonderful. I was cheering this comeback victory on. You're right, Olise unplayable, Eze unplayable at certain times, just drifting around the middle of the park. I really, so goes their season, is how long they can hold on to these two young guys. You just wonder what they're going to do to protect them.
One quick note, it's been incredible to watch my mate Chris Richards flourish in a whole new position. Defensive midfielder,
Yeah.
played every minute for Palace in their last 7 games. And while there's been some learning curve, he's been a monster in terms of duels won. And to watch that kid belatedly have a chance and to seize it out position 2, prove himself so emphatically. It's been humanly immense to witness. I wish Birmingham, Alabama's finest, a 2024 of continued wonder, health, and joy. Chris, you beautiful man, may you rise and rise.
Wolves 3, Everton 0. Your boys get a Black Country beatdown thanks to goals from Max Kilman, Mateus Cunha, and Phil Dawson. Wolves have now won 3 straight. Everton, meanwhile, have lost 3 on the bounce.
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember when Everton ripped off 4 successive wins, early December, I think it was called. The holiday, it just brought lumps of coal only. 3 losses on the trot, 2 hard fought to Tottenham and Manchester City, a woeful slump at Wolves, which served only to remind us that all points deducted teams must die. And Davo, I've been tortured by a single memory over the holidays. Do you remember when I told you back when Everton were winning defiantly, those 4 games on the run? And I turned to my kid, Oz, my youngest, and I said, God, I don't like this. Just this win, 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 win stuff. I miss our losing, our hilarity, our ridiculousness. And Oz turned around to me immediately and said, don't even joke, Dad. You will come to regret that approach to life. Something like that. I've made him sound a lot more emphatic. He actually said his true words were, Dad, I've been miserable since I started watching in 2008 every single weekend. Let me have some joy. But it turned out how right he turned out to be.
Yeah, I mean, was this, Rog, just the bounce from the 10-point deduction, which is the weirdest bounce we've seen, and even the weird things we've seen in football? So is it the letdown after all that energy, or is there something deeper going on with this football team?
The bright news is, even with the bloody 10-point deduction, we were 1 point ahead of where we were last season. But this holiday season, the game's thick and fast is just brutal for any club with a squad as thin as ours who play high tempo football. We're pretty much the same starting 11. Whoever's fit, just running on lactic acid. And facing Wolves, who have a strategy which is just designed to destroy us, a whip smart counter-attacking team with the fine Hee-Chan Hwang fired form. Their first ever win in London earned after a beatdown handed out to Brentford. They are just bloody good at football right now. And we have to say that. Mateus Cunha, exquisitely sizzling form. And it did not take long for them to put Everton to the sword. Here's what it is, Davo. Without Decore, we're nothing. With Decore, 111-21. Without him, lost 6 of 6. We had not a shot on target in this one. Let me ask you the question sent by GFOP at JPKLFC. Davo, do Everton need another 10-point deduction to get their season going
maybe.
again? We actually might get one.
That's important. What's bigger? Somebody they bring in at the trade deadline, which is going to be tough because they don't have a lot of money. Or maybe got some vouchers or some promo codes, Rog, but they certainly don't have a lot of money to do anything during the deadline. So maybe the 10-point deduction is what they need. They need to, in the appeal, instead of getting it reduced, they need to get a few more added. Yeah, we'll see.
Well, apparently, according to the Times, there are rumours Everton are actually going to get another deduction for FFP violations last season, along with Nottingham Forest. So it may be coming at JPK LFC, and I'm guessing there's a slight interest in your question with those last 3 initials. God bless you. All I can say is, what a crap year 2023 has been for Everton Football Club. It really has been. I fear we will look back at 2024 and realised we actually had it quite good last year. Credit to Wolves, we've got to say, who are bloody good under redemption
very
fuel
good.
manager Gary O'Neill. Incredible, right? It's magnificent to watch him.
Yeah, and they play really entertaining football, and for years you haven't been able to say that about Wolves. They've played like dogged, very physical football, but they've kept the physicality, which is what I liked, and at the same time using speed, using guile, and using that sort of all-out attack mentality. They're really fun to watch.
Precision. For Everton, we got Villa, Fulham, Spurs, City next in the league. Can I just say, I spent 4 days with my dad last week. He's very, very, he has a very short time left. His short-term memory is totally gone. I know a lot of you who've dealt with ailing human beings will have had a common experience there. And he asks the same things over and over and over. And the question when I spent time with him, that he asked more than any other. Our conversation constantly went, he's like, who are Everton playing next? I'd be like, Wolves. And he'd be like, gotta beat them. And I'd say, yeah, I love their fight right now. He'd say, yeah, their fight. Then 20 minutes later, he'd be like, who are Everton playing next? I'd say, Wolves, I'd say. And we'd go over it over and over and over, like 18, 19, 20 times a day. And it was hard to deal with, obviously, in obvious regard. But it was also deeply profound, Davo, to think just how deeply ingrained and comfort blanket-esque almost the role that football fandom plays for a human being, especially in their darkest hours. There's a true beauty to all of it.
Before we go, a quick reminder about everything we've got happening at Men in Blazers this week, powered by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. We're back tomorrow with brand new episodes of This Week in Wrexham and Vamos, special guest Daryl DK. And a reminder, Men in Blazers early kickoff is the best way to start your day. All of football's biggest headlines delivered into your pod feed in just 10 minutes. It's on a different news feed than this one, so just search Men in Blazers early kickoff. Make sure you're subscribing to that beauty. And can you give us a toast, talking of beauty, to bring us home?
I want to close by raising my glass to two things that as we enter 2024 with loins girded for darkness to come, two things that give me a vital slither of hope. And the remarkable thing is they're both related to refereeing. On Boxing Day, Sam Allison, 42-year-old former lower league player turned firefighter turned match official, became the first black referee to officiate in the Premier League for 15 years. Only the second ever after the legendary Uriah Rennie back in 2008. Allison oversaw Sheffield United Luton Town on Boxing Day. He VAR checked without controversy. And BAMREF, an advocacy organisation which offers guidance, mentoring to minority referees, said about the game, it's a further step in the right direction towards refereeing, reflecting society and the playing contingent within football. To more of that. And 3 days earlier, Rebecca Welsh became a true pioneer as the first female referee to oversee a Premier League game. She did so at Craven Cottage. Fulham hosted Burnley. Just an immense moment for football and for the 40-year-old health service administrator. It was beautiful to watch, and not just because I've honestly never seen a referee be applauded by both sets of fans when they took the field before. Vincent Company went up to a post-game to be amongst the first to offer congratulations. He said, I wanted to do that because it's a big moment. It's fair to say it's a milestone. May there be many more. Indeed, in that spirit, many more to follow in both Sam and Rebecca's footsteps. Football is all the better for all of it.
Absolutely, Rog. Beautifully said. Okay, you can follow us on Twitter at Men in Blazers, at MC Davis, at Rog Bennett, on Instagram at Men in Blazers, at MC Davis, on Facebook, Men in Blazers, Twitch, twitch.tv/Men in Blazers. Also our TikTok, look for it at Men in Blazers. You can always email us at meninblazers@gmail.com. We love and cherish getting your emails. And as Rog said earlier, he's endeavoring to reply to so many of them. Venderpunkt Rog.
War Pig.
Was that a Rabona?
I like snacks.
Bulls win, Bulls win.
Take that, Gloria.
Bulls lose.
To Tweed.
Abrigado, rock on, mate.
Kung Fu Fight in America.
Love you, Rog.
Love you, Davo. Love your points deductions. Give us them in the face.